Good morning, and welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour. Your host, Rick Schissler, is a Silver Fox advisor who personally has over 40 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. So sit back, pull out your pad and pencil, and get ready to take notes as we join Rick Schissler in his Lone Star Weekly Business Hour.
Good morning. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. Welcome you to this week's edition of the Weekly Business Hour. Got a great show for you, and I am so happy to be back with you. I've been off for a couple of weeks and taking care of my father, and I wanted to do a shout out to him. He was a great businessman who taught me a lot of the fundamentals of being a good business person and how to start a business and the things to do right and the things not to do. So I give a shout out to Dick Schissler this morning. He's recovering from a stroke, and he would appreciate everyone's prayers, and I appreciate all the help that we've gotten. And like I said, he's been a great mentor to me, and that's what I've tried to emulate and do with my clients as a Silver Fox advisor. Start out this morning, we're going to have a little bit of business information that I'd like to pass on to you. And one of the areas is I was studying up this past weekend for the show and thinking about what to talk about this morning that I came across, and we really haven't touched on this, and that's sales. And the fact that each and every one of us, everyone listening to this show today and in the archives, everyone out there that's in business somehow or works in a business or even is involved as a doctor or a lawyer or a candlestick maker, whatever, you're involved in sales one way or the other. And I think it's important from time to time, if you've never done it, to kind of brush up on some basic ideas of sales, because we all need to polish up our sales efforts. And again, this is not directed just to professional salespeople. This is not directed just to people who go out each day and try to sell. These folks are professionals. They receive training. But us that are in these stores on Main Street, those of us who have business, manufacturing, again, doctors, lawyers, other professionals, folks that still have clients, customers, patients, we need to know how to be able to sell, at the very least to sell ourselves, our services, and in a lot of cases, obviously, to sell our products. And the first rule, I think, of being a good salesperson is to practice. All of us need to practice from time to time. We are going to be making a sales pitch at some point in the day if we're involved in business. And again, that pitch could be made over the phone, it could be made in person, but we're going to be making a sales pitch. We're going to be pitching, if you will, or talking. Maybe that makes you feel better, a better word than pitching. We will be talking about our products or services to a potential customer, client, or existing customers or clients. So we need to practice that. And a lot of folks say, well, no, I know all about what I do, But let me tell you something. You'd be amazed if you'll take a minute, get somebody to kind of play act with you, get them across the table, and walk through your basic sales pitch, if you will, and see what they think. At the same time, I encourage this in a big way. One way or another, using a smartphone with an app or an old tape recorder, record how you sound. Some telephone systems will even do that and record and listen to your voice. Listen to the words you use. Listen to your tone and your inflection. I guarantee you, 99% of us could make some improvement. Maybe raise our voice, smile a little more. I don't know what it is, but let me tell you, if you practice it and you practice it again and again, and from time to time check yourself, then you'll be surprised, because I think the results of your efforts will go up. The second thing is to put any kind of sales action items you have on a calendar at a dedicated time slot. Now, this really applies if you're making regular sales calls or talking to people, I think, where you set aside a certain time of day. A lot of small businesses have only a certain amount of time each day to do proactive selling, and they need to calendar that, because if you don't, it somehow gets swept to the side. Because let's face it, most of us are not really geared to be great salespeople. We're a little nervous, a little shy, whatever the right word is for you. And I contend that you've got to put it on the calendar and you've got to follow through. Make those calls, make those marketing pieces that you're putting together, whatever it might be, that are involving sales. And I've kind of slipped into marketing through the back door. But the point is, allocate some time and put it on your calendar to get out there and sell your business. The third thing is, don't bog your potential customers down with product specifications. Gosh, all of us who sell products and services probably know our product and service upside and down, or we should, particularly if it's our business. If we're a small business person, we know our product. Well, let me tell you something. The customer, the potential client customer, they don't want to hear all the detail typically. If they do, they'll ask you. So when you make a presentation, when you're approaching a new client or prospect, just talk in general about what you do and why you're better than the other solution. In other words, help them find the solution that fits their business. Don't spend your time talking all about yourself and your product or your service that you provide in too much detail. The fourth thing is, remember the value you bring to the world. Remind yourself that you and your company, and I believe this deep in my heart, are unique. You're different, because if you're going to be successful, you have to be different in some way. Sometimes, and I'll be frank with you, I've been there myself, it's hard to figure out, why am I different? What is it that I do differently? Or do I need to adjust and make myself differently? You've got to talk about this uniqueness. You've got to be able to convey that through word and also potentially by visual in some cases, of why your company is different, why someone should want to do business with you. And this is what you're trying to do. And that leads right into the fifth point, and that is selling is caring. You've got to come across, and goes back to the idea of recording your sales pitch and making some effort to practice it, is people have to feel that you care about them, that you care about their business, and that you're going to provide a solution for problems they have. I have personally seen so many professional salespeople even miss this mark by a wide margin. They're so wound up in their pitch and the things they've practiced that they don't listen, they don't respond to the feedback, they don't try to analyze what this particular prospect needs, and therefore what they're talking about is way off target. And let me tell you, they're not going to get the business in most cases. The sixth thing is just a little piece of advice that I picked up in an article by Greg Schwartz and allbusiness.com, and that is, every no is one customer close to yes. Now, that doesn't mean every no is a chance to ask again. I've heard that all my life. It's just another opportunity, but it's one customer closer to yes. In other words, you need to have a volume of people you're talking to. If someone says no, you need to have at least enough prospects you've got another person to ask. So don't limit yourself to just a limited number of people. Always be looking for new prospects to buy your products and services. Always be on the lookout, whether it's through networking events, whether it's through direct mail campaigns and other marketing. Some way, develop a source, or as they call it in the business, a pipeline of people coming to you, because you're going to hear no. Yes, you've got to pick yourself up, you've got to dust yourself off, and you've got to look, but you've got to have someone else to talk to. And so many times I've even again seen professionals, ones that were really maybe not that good, that only had a limited number of people to talk to. They did not have a prospect base that they needed to be successful. And they really had sold themselves short, if you will, excuse the pun, from the get-go. When they started, they were already out of gas because they didn't have enough prospects. And the last thing, and I think this is real important, particularly for the business owner or the manager of a business, when you're involved in a sales situation, you've got to be willing to walk away. You've got to know when to stop. And that's kind of the end game of all of this. You've gone through this process, you've talked to people, you've developed your approach, your pitch, whatever. You've got it down. And again, I'm not just talking to professional salespeople, but you've got to recognize that there are certain pieces of business that just don't fit your model. And that's the way I say it and the way I really feel it is. And I see too many times businesses, particularly in difficult, challenging times, particularly when they're trying to grow and when they start their business, that they force business into their model. They buy business. They buy it too cheap. They end up losing money. They end up being consumed by a customer that takes too much time. And this all was probably evident at the beginning when they made the sale. Now, that doesn't mean that every client is going to be perfect and is going to present some challenges, because your job really is to help meet those challenges is to find solutions. But there's going to be certain business that you're going to feel like you're being forced to do, and you don't want to get there. And again, there's a line. Again, I want to repeat this. There is certain good clients, okay, that are going to be a little bit of a challenge, particularly maybe down the road. Your job is to find solutions. That really is the job of anybody who's doing sales, which again, I believe is everybody in business. Even a researcher is doing some sales of their research at some point or not. You've got to present yourself as a problem solver, and sometimes you're going to be presented with challenges. But what I'm really talking about in this last one is when you're dealing with people that just you can't deal with, their business doesn't fit, there's a better fit somewhere else. And so make that decision, cut it loose, and move on. And hopefully, like I mentioned previously, you have enough prospects in your pipeline that you can have somebody else to deal with. Now, at this point, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to introduce our guest that we have. We always have a guest live, which is really what this program is about. And I'm going to ask her what she does to work on her sales. Sheila Blue is with us today. She is the owner of Meal Masters. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you, Rick. It's an honor to be here.
Well, we're going to throw you into the fire from the get-go. We really haven't done this before, but I did forewarn you a little bit. Mm-hmm. What do you do in the area of sales? I mean, I kind of went through some basics. Talk to us a little bit about sales and what you do to improve your sales.
I love your points. Thank you. I think what I do is I make people my product, kind of like what you were saying, and that is finding out what their need is, just talking to them and getting to know what it is they need. And if my product fills their need, great. If it doesn't, do I know something that can? How can I help them? What I'm looking for is long-term relationships, not just a sale necessarily. How can I help them long-term?
And, that's, you hit on something I feel is key that it wasn't in those basic comments, and that's building relationships and the importance of that. And when you build a relationship, what are you looking to do with that relationship?
What I'm looking to do is see what I can do to help them and meet their needs long-term, not just for the moment, for this particular product short-term. What can I do to help them time and time again?
Well, and the advantage that I've always found, which I guess is obvious of a relationship and a long term, is you don't have to go out and get as many new customers or new, whatever clients, if you call them clients, or you call them customers or clients?
I call them clients.
Okay, we're with clients today. I got to get right. I've been dealing with patients, now I'm dealing with clients. But no, when you develop a relationship with a client and it's there, then that's got a lot of value in it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And if I do my job well and meet their needs well, you get those referrals, and that's the best kind of business you can get is personal referral.
Isn't that kind of the highlight of really doing a good job is getting referrals from your client?
Yes.
That feels pretty good, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I feel like it was a job well done.
Well, and it's so many times I work with clients and I sort of lay that out as kind of a building block process, and they'll get the clients, but they can't seem to get the referrals. Do you have any advice for them?
Again, I think it's just finding out what their need is. If you might be meeting a need right now, but that might not be what they need next time. Just continuing that relationship. Follow-up. I believe that follow-up is a huge key to that as well.
Do you ask for referrals?
I do. Mm-hmm. Yes.
In a particular way, or you just, at what point in the relationship do you do that?
I think when I've provided a service and I ask if they're happy with it, if it's met their need, and if so, please refer this, to whoever that might be able to use this as well.
So you pick and choose when you go in and ask for that referral?
Yeah, I generally do when I'm teaching a class or when I've served a client, whether it's through the meals or just teaching.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think that's some wonderful advice, Sheila, and I appreciate you jumping in the middle of that segment with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break here now, commercial break, and I wish you would stay with us. We're going to get to learn a lot more about Sheila Blue and Meal Masters over the next 30, 45 minutes, so please stay with us and come back in just a moment.
The City of Willis Independence Day celebration is scheduled for Saturday, June 28th from 5:30 to 10 at Burton Yates Stadium in Willis. The Willis Independence Day celebration will include several local artists, including Blue McGinnis, Brian Fincher, and Tori McClure. But the spotlight for the night will belong to local country superstar Jack Ingram. You don't want to miss Oodles the Balloon Artist, face painting, vendors for your shopping pleasure, free food provided by Kroger, and a fireworks show provided by Celestial Displays. Free tickets are required to enter the stadium, so please make sure you stop by City Hall 200 North Bell Street, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 12, and Monday evenings from 5 to 7. If you don't get a chance to stop by City Hall, any additional tickets that we have available the day of the event at the gate. For more information, contact the City of Willis at 936-856-4611. Don't forget, Saturday, June 28th. Don't want to miss Jack Ingram at the Willis Independence Day celebration.
Hello, this is Dennis Nelson, inviting you to come with me through the doorway of imagination and into the theater of the mind. The Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour presents a play every Saturday night at 7 p.m. on Lone Star Internet Radio. Be it drama or comedy, thriller or love story, every exciting episode is carefully chosen straight from the golden age of radio and performed live by talented actors, musicians, and sound effects crew. Every sound you hear will be 100% live and homemade. Anything can happen. So join us, please, every Saturday night at 7 p.m. for the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour, right here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
You're listening to Lone Star Internet Radio now for your daily weather report. Today is Monday, June 23rd, 2014. Today there will be isolated showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. Mostly sunny with a high near 91. Later tonight will be partly cloudy with a low around 73. The chance of precipitation today is 20%.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Donald Wick Public Relations. You've seen the billboards. That's right, Wicked Publicity. Contact them today at 832-326-1965 and visit wickedpublicity.com.
Welcome back to the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. We're in the studio today with Sheila Blue, the owner of Meal Masters. If you were listening to the last segment, we were talking a little bit about sales and how to develop your sales in your business. And again, Sheila, I appreciate you jumping in and giving some personal advice on that topic. But now let's talk about you and your business. Tell us a little bit about your business background.
My business background, well, I actually have a paralegal degree, so I started out in the legal field. And how I got into this, I quit to stay home to raise my 3 sons, actually. And so in that, what I've learned is, like you were saying, just some of the sales skills. We're all in sales, no matter what we do. Selling your kids on cleaning their room and eating their veggies is sales. I've learned a lot there. But just problem solving, time management, all those different things, that's really where I've honed and learned what I've done. And staying home on one income for years. And learning how to do that, that's really where the basis of what I've learned, how I started this business was.
So what really motivated you to obviously it's, and I find very interesting that being a mom, and I've heard this before more than once, but it really gave you a lot of training and experience to become a business person, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
That's what you were saying.
Yes.
So what made you or motivated you to make that step, almost a formal step, if you will, into business?
A couple things. I think one of them as well is I actually homeschool my 3 children, and just looking at their futures and giving them an opportunity to see what being an entrepreneur is as well, and having that access to somebody in business and what does that look like, business growth and small business. And so starting that with their support as well, just giving them an opportunity, I think jumping in as well as the life circumstances that caused the start of the company to begin with.
Well, that's interesting. Now, what you're saying is your kids are getting an additional class, if you will, in school.
Absolutely.
Called entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's right.
Really?
Some business skills. Absolutely. They see every facet of it. They're in there with me, rolling up their sleeves, as well as seeing what it's like to go talk to clients, business, profit and loss, all the things that go on. They're getting access to that.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I sense there's a book in there somewhere that you could write for other stay-at-home moms and dads who could start businesses with their kids and teach them about
Absolutely.
it. That's interesting, very interesting. So you made a decision. When was it approximately when you decided to start the business?
I actually decided just over 3 years ago to start this company. And the foundation for it was having meal planned, what this started out with. I've been doing it for about 16 years, actually, and helping others, not just in my own home, but helping other people do it as well. But just over 3 years ago in March, my brother was killed serving in Afghanistan. And the outpouring of meals and support that we received from our community is actually what gave me the idea to transfer. If you've got those meals already sitting there in your fridge, how can you give and give back out? And so a portion of what we do gives back to that. And so if you've got a meal or you can feed your family, you can feed another family as well. And that's the basis of what I started my company with.
That's an interesting place to start. Now, tell us a little bit more about your business itself, how it works.
Well, it's kind of twofold. I give you the opportunity to put it in your own hands, a DIY, if you will. Or you can order it from us and we'll take care of it for you if you just don't have the time. So what we do is I teach classes on how to cook one day for the whole month. It's monthly meal planning that I teach. And there's weekly and other ways, and we kind of talk about that. But the main thing about monthly meal planning is the time and the money that it saves. Whether you're single, 2 incomes, kids, it doesn't matter what, one household of 1 or a household of 10. You can save yourself time and money. And that's the basis of this, and that's what I started it for too, is to show people how they can. And maybe someone who thinks they can't go stay at home, they actually can. It's amazing what you can find. The average person that comes through our class saves about $500 a month on their grocery bill. So it's saving that time and that money. And then there's some people who just still don't have the time or the ability or don't want to cook. It's not their thing. And so they can call and they can order those monthly meal plans, and we'll make them and deliver them.
Now, let's go back to the first one. I'm really curious about this. So the idea is, once a month on the monthly plan, I spend the day, I assume a pretty good day, preparing all these different meals.
Yes.
And then putting them in the freezer?
Yes, it's about 6 hours it takes. And you get them all prepped and ready to go. And then throughout your month, all you're doing is cooking it on the night that you want to eat it. It's prepared, and then you're just heating it back up. So you've got that healthy homemade dinner at the table. And another reason for that is, with all the busyness and everything we've got going on nowadays, and I'm totally aware of that being a mom, that how do you still get your kids a healthy homemade meal, and how can you do it quickly and on the go and still make time for homework and sports and time for your spouse, that sort of thing. So how do we do that? And I found a way that you can save about 24 hours a month by not having to do the dishes and all the prep and the cleanup and prepping every night.
That's very interesting. I'm curious too. You projected a $500 a month savings for a family in groceries. How does that fit in? I mean, because you do it at one time, or?
Yes, the reason is you do it at one time and you actually could save more. I cook with a couple of other ladies, and the reason for that is you save more when you're buying in larger quantities. You can save more. And so when you're doing all this at one time, you're not just buying a pound of chicken here, a pound of beef there. You're buying it all at once. And so you're saving. And then having it all prepped in that time, you're not running to the store every night for something to cook, or you forgot an ingredient and you have to go run and get it, or you're running behind. Those sort of things, they waste time, gas, money, and so you're saving in all those different ways.
That's interesting. And you do that, I heard that number, 6 hours roughly a month. So you would be able to teach someone like me how to do my meals for, say, my wife and I, or myself, or our kids, or whatever, in 6 hours a month.
Absolutely. You just put in that one day and you'll have dinners for the month. And we've got some great dinners, great variety. And we actually cover a variety of lifestyles. So we have gluten-free for diabetic, paleo, heart healthy, traditional. So we have the gamut of what your needs might be.
And then you also prepare meals. I heard you say that.
Yeah. So any of those monthly meal plans, we prepare as well. So if you call and you order them, you can get any of those. We'll just deliver them right to your door, ready to go, and you just heat them up the night you're ready to eat them.
So you actually deliver them, so I don't even have to go pick them up?
Nope, don't have to grocery shop, don't have to chop and cook, none of that. Just heat it up the night you're ready.
What do I buy, a week in advance or a month, or how do I?
Just purchase the month.
Purchase the month, so you deliver the whole month at one time?
The whole month, yep, and then we'll stack them, and you only need a regular size freezer, nothing special. They'll all fit in a regular freezer.
Wow.
Because normally the things that are in your freezer are the things you're buying to put dinner together. And so you don't need all those things.
That is really interesting. Very interesting. How did you did you start this concept, or did you learn about it somewhere else?
I did actually, again, just staying home at the time when I quit to stay home to raise my sons. I was making 2/3 of our income. So I had to find out real fast how to recoup some of that and how to get that back and live on a meager, smaller budget. And so with that, I started looking, this is in the days before internet, I won't say how old I am, but before Google and all that good stuff. And I started asking women who had larger families or families, how did they cook? How do they do that in advance? And meal planning was around and monthly meal planning. So I'd gone to the library and read it, and some of them were tedious. Several of them, they're 12 and 15-hour days of cooking. And what I realized was, how can I make this, streamline it, make it simpler, make it easier? And that's what I've done, is I've taken all these years of cooking. I've been in the kitchen since I was about 10. My parents were great about letting me get in there and cook and learn. And so all those years of cooking, I've condensed it and simplified it and made great, family-friendly recipes. I have 3 sons, teenagers, and they can't eat. So I know a lot about making good food for...
So this sounds like it was mainly a survival effort that
It started out that way, actually. Yeah, it did. And, in that, being able to stay at home for over 15 years on a single income.
Right.
That's a major accomplishment in itself. So, yeah.
So this was one of the tools you used, if you will, to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Well, this is very intriguing. I think it's an interesting solution to a challenging problem really faced by many people, and there are a lot of solutions out there, a lot of tools. We had Papa Murphy's Pizza in here, where they, you go by and you pick what you want, but I find this one intriguing because of the nutritional representation or value that you're talking about, that these meals are in your freezer. You're not picking up fast food, obviously,
right,
and those kind of things. And you're approaching the dinner meal, which is probably the most critical, even though breakfast is supposed to be most important, and I agree. But
right.
I like that. It's a business plan. Who helped you put this concept together?
Myself, actually. That was just about it.
So you're the creator.
Grace of God. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. That is cool. How do you do your marketing? I mean, how do you get the word out?
I think word of mouth. It's funny. I actually started out in my own living room teaching these classes. I've written the cookbooks. I have 5 now of these meal planning cookbooks. And so just starting out there and then growing from there, again, it's that word of mouth. Word of mouth. And now we've got a kitchen in Old Town Spring, and it just keeps growing and growing. So that Facebook is one. We've got a website as well. And that's one of the things I'm learning, is how to get the word out to larger groups of people.
And your primary market, I guess, would be Houston or North Houston area, Montgomery County.
Yes. We do a lot in Houston, Spring, the Woodlands, those areas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. To have anyone else approached you about carrying this concept to other places?
Not yet.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a cool concept. Maybe something that could be franchised. I don't know. Yeah. Have you thought about that?
I have, actually. Yes. It's something that I would like to do. It's in my future plans.
I hear you. That strategic plan. By the way, do you do any kind of formal planning in your business? That's a question I always ask, whether it's a one-page plan or a calendar, or what kind of planning, other than your day-to-day calendar, do you do, if any?
I have goals. I've got a page of goals that I've set for a timeline of when I want to accomplish things. And as I'm getting through, and each step that I grow with, I learn and open up, and I'm learning to delegate some areas to other people so that it frees me up to go ahead and grow on to the next.
So you do have a plan for what you're trying to do with this business.
Yes.
And now it's outside the home. I heard you mention that. You have a kitchen in Spring.
Yes, in Old Town Spring, we have a studio kitchen that we do our classes in.
I think I've seen it. That's cool. Yeah. So what's the next goal?
The next goal, I think, would be to, we've grown into, we have a catering company as well. And so we cater on the side. But my next goal is to get other people who want to do what I do and get the word out and teach other people how to meal plan just like this. So
that's very interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Sheila Blue of Meal Masters, a creator of a business. It's not often we have a creator on that really creates a brand new business. This is kind of exciting. I hope you'll stay with us. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with you and learn a little bit more from the Meal Master, Sheila Blue.
The Conroe YMCA's benchmark adaptive programming for kids and adults is Leap of Faith. Leap of Faith is an equine-assisted therapy program serving children and adults with adaptive needs. The riders in our Leap of Faith program are working to address and manage specific aspects of their lives impacted by illness, injury, or disability. The Leap of Faith program has experience working with riders who are living with attention deficit or other hyperactivity disorders, hearing impairments, visual impairments, developmental delays or disabilities, autism, Down syndrome, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, head traumas, brain injuries, and paralysis. Our program uses horseback riding to develop self-confidence and self-esteem, to increase upper and lower body strength, assist in respiratory issues, and establish a trusting relationship between the rider and their horse. Not only do these activities aid in the physical and mental development of the rider, but they also foster self-reliance and independence. For more information regarding our program, to become a rider, or to volunteer with a great group of people, please call our Welcome Center at 936-441-9622 or visit our website at www.ymcahouston.org/Conroe.
Have you ever wandered around a parking lot trying to look like you actually know where you parked? Then you'll love the Mark and Cindy Show. If buying toilet paper with aloe vera is the most exciting thing you're going to do today, then you'll love the Mark and Cindy Show. Even if you haven't tweeted, you'll still love the Mark and Cindy Show.
How about twerking?
Ew, that was one step over the line, Mark.
Well, you said toilet paper.
Look, we want listeners to tune in to the Mark and Cindy Show at 10 o'clock every weekday morning here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
The Mark and Cindy Show, it's like visiting with your best friends for coffee, except we will never stiff you with a check.
And one of us always knows what she's talking about.
Well, okay, but it's still called the Mark and Cindy Show. You know that.
We'll see. The Mark and Cindy Show. Tune in to Lone Star Radio every weekday morning at 10 o'clock.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. Welcome you back to the Weekly Business Hour, and we've been visiting with the creator of Meal Masters, Sheila Blue. We've been talking about Sheila's business, the business that she created really from scratch, literally. And again, no pun intended since we're talking about cooking. But Sheila, you've obviously had a lot of experience, not just in cooking, as you mentioned, but in creating a business. And if I was out there just thinking about starting my own business, much less creating a business, what piece of advice, if you could give me a single piece of advice, would you offer me to think about as far as starting my own business?
That's a great question. I think I would say start and ask somebody who if you have access to or know someone who does, kind of find out from them a little bit what they've learned along the way. But I think the biggest piece of advice is take action. Don't wait for something perfect or all your ducks to be in a row, because it's never going to happen, just like having kids or buying the house or anything else. I think take action is the biggest thing. And with anything else, you learn as you grow and learn as you go as well. But have a plan, even if it's just a simple plan. Kind of map out what you're looking to do, and then just take that first step.
Well, you got to take that big step off the cliff, as I say, or across the line, depending on what you feel comfortable with. But I agree with that 100%. You started your business. We talked about that, and now you've expanded it, reached a newer goal, and got your own studio kitchen. On a day-to-day basis, what is the biggest challenge you face today?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is balancing the time and kind of turning off business when it's not time to be, because I still, like I said, have a family at home and those sorts of things, and that's balancing and just being present in the moment and focusing. When I'm at work or I'm doing business, that's it, and that's my time. And focus on that 100%, not being distracted. Multitasking is great, but you don't always get the job done 100%. And I think I'm learning to really just focus when I'm there. And I get things done a lot quicker and a lot better.
Well, I think that's a good point. When discipline and focus I know I personally am challenged by discipline sometimes. Focus, I usually am really focused. Those are two separate things in my mind. But let me ask you this. When you're running your business, now you've gone from the kitchen, from your home, to a studio, to an outside location. That's a step that a lot of entrepreneurs, business people make from, working in their bedroom or in an office at home, and then they go to an office or a retail space. What's the biggest difference for you? What change really did that make for you in your day-to-day activity, taking it out of the home and putting it on Main Street, so to speak?
I think it made it real, which is kind of funny, like I'm real business. But I think the biggest thing, what that did too, is it allowed me to take myself seriously and the business seriously, and to take that leap of faith and do that made me accountable. And, there's a rent due and there's things due, and now we're at a point where we're being able to hire other people. We've got a chef in the kitchen that helps and some other things. And so the responsibility of having other people involved really makes me step up my game.
But do you think it's important to separate the business? It's like that. In other words, a lot of folks will stay in the home, but do you think it's important to have a separate location like that? Does it make you better? Does it make the business better?
I think it depends on what you're doing. In my case, I had to, obviously, with food, cooking it somewhere. But I think as long as you can separate it out somehow and you secure that time and you block that time, if it's in your home for business and you don't let anything disrupt or interrupt that, then I think you can succeed. But if you have the opportunity to go outside, I think it does sort of give it a different validity and an opportunity to step outside of the home and separate the two.
Yeah, I like the idea of going to the office, if you will. I do too. Well, in your case, you made a great point, though. I mean, it validated, if you will, what you had done, and sort of really, it's kind of like you're at that first real step on the trophy, got that first trophy, first level on your way. And speaking of that, 3 to 5 years from now, we kind of touched indirectly on this. Where do you see the business? If you could look in a crystal ball or look at your goals, 3 to 5 years from now, where do you see Meal Masters?
Well, 3 to 5 years, what I'd love to see is to have other meal masters out there teaching this concept and showing other people how to save time and money in their families, groom others to do what I do, and open other studio kitchens and give entrepreneurs. One of the other things we do in our kitchen is we give other entrepreneurs the opportunity to start their business like I got to, not in debt and slowly. And so they can rent our kitchen out as a studio kitchen to grow their businesses. And so I'd love to see other people start where I started and grow into what I've done as well.
Now, you mentioned that you kind of branched out into the catering business. How? I mean, that's kind of it's related, obviously, but a lot of times in our business we'll expand into areas that seem related, but maybe are. I mean, how's that worked out for you?
That's a horse of a different color.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, they're related, very different entities. And what's neat about that is I've had a partner that's come in. Diane Wilson is her name, and she does events and things as well. And what we've done is created a leg. And so that catering, it's called Zoom Zoom Catering. It's its own company it runs. And it's really growing in its own way. And that's one of the things that I love about what I've been able to do and watch grow is that you don't have to just stay in a box. You know, we've been able to bring in someone else and let them be creative and grow while we're growing a company. So yeah, it's going great. And I actually started renting the studio kitchen that I'm in now from the former caterer that owns Zoom Zoom, actually. And she was amazing and just offered to buy her company. I never actually wanted to do catering. I don't know how many days I said, I don't ever want to cater. I'm never going to be a caterer. And lo and behold, here I am. Never say never, right? So it's been a neat ride.
Well, let me ask you this: what, and again, what I feel is important when you branch your business out like that, there's got to be some synergies between the businesses. And share with us some of the synergies between Meal Masters, as you originally started in a catering business, that people might be able to see other opportunities for themselves in what they do.
That's a great question. I think what the synergy is in that is with Meal Masters, you know, you're helping families, again, that healthy meal planning, meals, getting around the table. Maybe it's for their health that they need better meals, whatever it is. But like we were saying earlier about finding the needs of your clients and meeting them, well, sometimes they need catering. I was finding out, hey, do you happen to cater? I've got a graduation, or there's a wedding, or I have this, or I have that. And I realized, wow, there's more opportunities to meet a need in their life. And so this kind of carried over into it like that.
So basically, I heard that common word, their life and families. So it seems like that's a common theme, that you're really trying to help people in their lives in different areas. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say life events, whatever those are. And in the case of catering, obviously, whatever's going on, celebrations or anything. But as far as meals and meal planning goes, life events, again, like in my case, you know, it was a tragedy someone was able to reach out and share. But it could be a celebration. It could just be helping someone, you know, just healthy lifestyle, whatever it is. But I would say life events is definitely the key there.
Well, that's interesting because it's got to have a common thread in that. That's a great common thread for you to have and pull those synergies together and do what you're doing. Let's back up again a little bit. You talked about your planning is really what you call goal setting, which I think is cool. How do you go about setting your goals? I mean, if you were going to give me some advice about setting goals or putting a plan down to kind of direct myself in my business, teach me how you do yours. Well,
I think what I like to do is usually about every 6 months, I sit down and and I'll look at what I had set, but I sit down and reevaluate, where am I at? Where have I grown? And I look at what I had set the last 6 months or year, but I'll put down, what do I hope to accomplish in a year? What do I want to get done? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10, and 20. Those are my lists.
Wow.
And because of business and family, there's a lot of things I always want to pack into that 1 to 3. So when I look at that and I sit down and I'm like, okay, realistically, this is taking a little longer than I thought. Let me bump it on up to the 5 year or bring it down. Hey, we're close. That already happened. Let me put it on the 1 year list, So I think just consistent reevaluation is how I do my goal setting.
Now, do you do any of what I call benchmarking, which to me, benchmarking is if I don't make a goal, then I back up and say, okay, is that realistic? Do I need to do something different? Do I need to go a different direction? Do I need to back off? Do you ever think of it in terms like that?
I don't know if I do, actually. I think I just kind of, I stick to the page that I've got going on, or if I don't, what I realize sometimes is that I'm heading somewhere and I never set a goal for it. Like you're saying, I didn't even think about that. So, yeah.
So you add to the list, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm
it's always
constantly
moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have found benchmarking, though, is something I learned, I wish I had known in the beginning, because sometimes you go away a certain direction and really in the right direction. So you need to stop and say, wait a minute, that's wrong. I need to redirect or back up, or in the case of some businesses, it just isn't going to work. And we refuse to give up, our human nature. So, but the goal setting part of it is so important, and you're one of a handful of people I've met that really work that. Sound like you work it, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this about your business. You're in the meal business. You got a lot of competition out there. I touched on some fast food, Papa Murphy, whatever. How do you tell me you're different? I mean, it's obviously you're different. I'm putting it in the freezer, but I have lots of choices I can make for dinner. How do you make yourself unique to me?
That's a great question. I think one of the things, as far as how to compete with what's out there to grab and go restaurant style, there's a lot of places. I mean, this is Houston. There's plenty of people and plenty of food. But I think what I tell people in my class is that you can go out and eat and you can make better bad choices, but you still don't know what's going in your food, as hard as you can try. And I think this gives you the opportunity to do that, have your hands on it or know what's going in it. But competing wise is even what's in a freezer meal or a quick, what you can grab, or a pizza to bake. I mean, I love Papa Murphy's, but the thing is again, even those different things, you're actually putting your hands on it if you're the one doing it yourself, and you can tailor it to meet your family's needs. So if you've got a whole situation and somebody's allergic to something, you can eliminate that. You don't have to be a short order cook for your family. You can do it all in one step at one time. And again, if your needs, one of the things that I'm finding with clients is, there's a lot of gluten-free and there's diabetes and other things that are out there, and people are trying to find solutions that are quick and easy, but still healthy. And we offer that. And not everybody does, or they say they do, but you've still got the challenge of, a lot of preservatives or something else in it to make it be able to sit on that shelf or in that freezer longer.
So the idea is that you're really providing me with fresh food.
Absolutely.
I mean, is that a key word in what you would tell me?
Fresh and homemade, yes.
And homemade. So fresh and homemade are what your unique selling proposition would be, if you will, in the marketing world.
Yes.
That's very interesting. Do you find any resistance to that?
Not generally. I think the only resistance, again, in the doing it yourself is people still don't want to put in that time. Actually, that's the only resistance is, I don't want to do that. So that's why we've gone to offering, let us do it for you.
And could you give us an idea, and not to probe your business secrets, but
sure,
balance of people that prepare and who you prepare? What percentage of your business is?
I would actually say, I would say it's probably a good 70 to 75% that prepare it themselves out of the classes.
But you still have 20, 25, 30% of the people
that are too busy or, exactly.
That's interesting. That was the number I was really curious about, because if you told me in 6 hours a month I could prepare my meals, even to myself as someone who doesn't really cook, not that I would mind, but I just don't do it. I'm married to someone who's an outstanding cook and loves it. And but this might appeal to her,
right?
The idea that she could do this in 6 hours and so on and so forth. But to imagine there is a group of our population out there that doesn't want to do any of the work, which I can respect. I mean, it's just interesting, but still get good, fresh, homemade meals.
Absolutely. One of the things too that I see, we have a lot of clients that come in and they'll bring in their children, teen or older kids who are the ones who really love to cook, and they'll bring them in because they're the ones cooking anyway. And so they'll expose them to this and something new, and they can participate in their families by cooking.
Wow, that's neat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Sheila Blue, the Meal Master. We've talked a lot about cooking, about how to make a successful business out of fresh homemade food. It's been very interesting. We're going to take a short break. Hope you'll stay with us. And when we come back, Sheila's going to talk to us about some of the things that she's done to kind of balance her life at home with a good-sized family along with the business. Stick with us, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Lone Star Internet Radio. Now for your daily weather report. Today is Monday, June 23rd, 2014. Today there will be isolated showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. Mostly sunny with a high near 91. Later tonight will be partly cloudy with a low around 73. The chance of precipitation today is 20%.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Donald Public Relations. You've seen the billboards. That's right, Wicked Publicity. Contact them today at 832-326-1965 and visit wickedpublicity.com.
Tri-County Services provides services to children and adults with mental illnesses, substance abuse disorders, and intellectual developmental disabilities in Montgomery, Liberty, and Walker counties. Offices are located in Conroe, Cleveland, Liberty, and Huntsville. Some mental health services offer focus on resilience and recovery. Services and supports for individuals with intellectual development disabilities focus on skill development and independence. Tri-County Services offers 24/7 crisis intervention and evaluation with crisis hotline 1-800-659-6994. And their mobile crisis outreach team. Psychiatric crisis treatment is available at Psychiatric Emergency Treatment Center in Conroe. Substance abuse services include treatment for both youth and adults. Substance abuse prevention classes are also provided for younger children and teenagers. Peer support services for veterans are also offered by Tri-County Services. For more information about all programs provided by Tri-County Services, call 936-521-6100 or visit our website at www.tricountyservices.org.
Hi, I'm Joyce with the Corner Pub in downtown Conroe. We're located at the corner of Simonton and North Main, just across the street from the courthouse. The week starts off Monday with open mic hosted by Alan, and Tuesday nights open mic hosted by Jeremy Bankhead. And on Thursday evening, McFarland Jams. There's nightly drink specials available every night, all night. And don't forget, live entertainment every weekend. To see a full list of events, visit our website at thecornerpubinconroe.com. So come join us at the Corner Pub, where the deli is open late.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor, welcoming you back to this week's Weekly Business Hour. We've been visiting with Sheila Blue, the Meal Master, learned all about cooking and how to make a business out of it. Been very, very interesting, but now we're going to shift gears, as we typically do on our show, and talk a little bit about life-work balance, because I personally believe that's an important attribute of any successful entrepreneurial, any successful business, small business, and many of us, particularly when we start businesses, are really challenged by that because of all the time it takes to be in business for yourself. Sheila, how do you do it?
That's a great question, and it is. I think that's been one of the biggest challenges, is that balance. One of the things that I'm learning to do is to schedule, and I'm still learning actually, and make sure that I keep that schedule that time with my family, with my kids, and separate out those things. And when I'm scheduled to do my work or meet with clients or cook or whatever it is I'm doing, I get in and I get it done, and then I turn it off. And then when I'm home, I'm home. It's so easy to be bombarded, especially with technology and all the things we have today, and everybody wants to get a hold of you and this and that and the busyness of it. And, you want to succeed, so you don't want to let somebody go. But what I've learned is they won't. Remember the days of recorders, and, if nobody was there at the end of the day, you didn't get back to them till tomorrow. And so I have to learn to do that so that I can make the time for my family that I need to make.
Well, and I think technology has made it a little easier to communicate. I particularly personally like email because I can do it after hours.
Absolutely.
And after 9 o'clock or whatnot. Of course, I'm a grandfather now, but if I have kids or any activities, and that way I pick and choose when I communicate with people.
Yes.
You find that helpful to you to use those various avenues?
I do, absolutely, yeah. And it's great to have that technology, like you say, and those various avenues that you can get back to people and meet their need, and meet it quickly as well if you need to.
Let me ask you, what do you find, and you give classes and you have your studio kitchen, What do you find that, I mean, these are people seeking work-life balance, I guess, to some extent.
Yes.
I mean, what do you find that their main challenge is there's just time, that they're there because they want to save time, or what is it?
I think I'd say it's probably threefold, really: time and money and being good stewards of it. Even if they can afford the eating out and all that, and their health. Time, money, and health is the balance that they're all looking for.
That's interesting. So you've got a kind of a mix. And in your classes, about how many people do you have in each class?
We generally run, depends on who's, anywhere from about 8 to 20.
Wow.
Anywhere in there.
Wow. That's great. And how often do you give classes?
Well, the monthly meal planning classes are currently held right now once a month. And we like to hold those on Sunday afternoons so that it doesn't compete with sports and other things and all that good stuff on a Sunday.
So I come in on a Sunday afternoon and I cook my meals for the month.
Actually, yeah, you come in on a Sunday and it's actually 1 to 3. It's just a 2-hour class. And what we do is we put all the tools and show you how to do it in your hand and do some demos, and you can walk right out of there. And that's the beauty of the class, is you can go and do it on your time when it's convenient for you and what meets your needs.
Okay. So that, again, better use of my time. I make it fit my schedule. Now, you mentioned you started in your own kitchen. You had a family. You were a stay-at-home mom. So you made this business kind of work with the parameters of your family. So your family's always been in the front or the forefront of what you've done.
Absolutely.
And you made this business kind of fit into what you did with your family.
Yeah, it's been great. My husband and my 3 sons have been an amazing support, and what's been great about it is, again, homeschooling my 3 children, I've been able to take it and also use it as a tool, as to teach. That's what we go to school for, is to learn what we want to do. And it might not be cooking for them, but what do they want to do, and see, that work ethic and that hard work and what it really takes to run a business or anything in life, the balance. And they're getting to see, how do you balance all that, and work with me. I ask them too, what can I be doing better? Where am I lacking? What am I not accomplishing here that you guys need from me? So they've been a great feedback for me.
That's interesting. Do you see an entrepreneur in the group?
Yes, actually, I see 3. I don't know that they think there's any other way to do it at this point, which I think is awesome.
That is unbelievable. So you're training 3 new entrepreneurs for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Just don't know what field yet they'll go into.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. That's interesting. Any other advice you could give our listeners as far as trying to, if they're working 60, 80 hours a week in their business, that you could give them to be more successful and balance their lives with their families and outside activities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what I would advise is to really schedule it, and work will be there, and it's important to get it done, but it's just as important to put that same effort into your home. Again, whether you're single, in your time feeding yourself, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever that is. And if you've got a family or you're married, to take and schedule that time and stick to your schedule. It's really important. I think that's the greatest thing that I've learned to do.
And I want people to know, and this is just a comment, but you respond, is you're involved in other things too. I mean, you mentioned that you nonprofit work. I mean, tell people about that as well. I mean, it's just not cooking, it's raising a family. You're doing other things as well as building this business.
Yes, absolutely. We have our hands in a few things that we do, that we support. One of them being we're helping build an orphanage in India right now. And so that's one of the things that we're doing, as well as military ministries and other things that we do to help support our community and getting involved. And then our kids, again, with Scouts and all the other things, their service projects, we just have our hands in a few things, like most people do.
Right. So, but you're able to balance it out and everybody seems happy.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Sheila, I really appreciate you coming in today. You've had a wonderful story. We've had a creator today, ladies and gentlemen, someone who started a business from scratch, a business concept or idea, and it's growing, and she's meeting her goals, and it's been a wonderful visit. I appreciate it. If people want to get in touch with you, Sheila, learn more about your program, perhaps take a class, tell us how they can do that.
They can find us online at www.themealmasters.com, or we have a phone number that they can call and get information, and that is 832-257-4131.
Give us that phone number one more time.
832-257-4131.
Well, I would encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in having fresh, prepared homegrown, if you will, not homegrown, home prepared. There I am. I'm a vegetable gardener myself. Home prepared meals, and see how you can better use your resources. And as you mentioned, be a better steward. Sheila, I think you should reach out and get in touch with Meal Masters and explore it a little bit. And again, thank you for being on the program today, Sheila. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Mentioned as we leave today to all our nonprofit partners out there and to anybody who's involved in a nonprofit. If you haven't contacted us at the station, please reach out. I volunteer and do that with the station and try to find all the nonprofits so we can connect you with irlonestar.com, because we're committed to the community. We are the community radio station. Want to get your public service announcement out there, so reach out to us, and you can reach me at rschissler, SCHISSLER at irlonestar.com. And thank you again for joining us today. And next week, keep your dial right where it is and listen to Montgomery County's community radio here at irlonestar.com, broadcasting from the heart of Conroe. Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Tina, your host from Retro Saturdays. I wanted to invite you to visit the Lone Star Studios here in downtown Conroe, Texas. We're all volunteers here, and we need your help in serving the Montgomery County area. Radio media is a fun field to be in. Lone Star Internet Radio serves Montgomery County with news, current events, local programming, and of course, music. If you are interested in volunteering and sharing your talents in media, go to irlonestar.com and let us hear from you. Lone Star Internet Radio, serving Montgomery County from the heart of downtown Conroe.